So you've got a contract sitting in front of you. Maybe it's a lease, maybe it's a construction contract, or maybe it's some other service that you're contracting. Or maybe you've been hired to do a job and now the company sends over their contract and they're asking for all these things. In this video, I'm going to talk about the three primary things you're going to see in a contract from an insurance standpoint that you need to understand. You need to understand what they're asking of you in case something goes wrong. So the first one and the most common one is additional insured status. So an additional insured status is really more or less what it sounds like. It gives you that other party. You'll hear me call them the upstream party. That means if I'm the sub and they're the GC, or let's say I'm the contractor and they're hiring me to do work for them, I'd be the downstream party, they would be the upstream party. If they're asking for additional insured status from me, I'm basically giving them access to use my policy where that contract aligns with it. So they can't make a claim for something completely unrelated against my policy under that. But if I'm doing the job and I do something wrong and get somebody hurt, they get sued as well, I'm going to have to cover them under my policy. So that's more or less what additional insured status is. There's really two ways to do it. You can do it via an automatic additional insured endorsement, which the important thing to remember is that additional insured endorsement or automatic additional insured endorsement requires a written contract requesting additional insured status. If you don't have that agreement in place, it can be a problem. Most people think it's automatic no matter what. It's not. There needs to be written consensus between the two parties for it to work. Remember that. If you don't have an automatic additional insured status, or you don't have a written contract facilitating that endorsement to respond, you can always do a scheduled additional insured endorsement, which basically is you call your agent, you give them the entity and tell them, hey, this entity needs to be added to our policy as additional insured. They're going to send you a schedule that says the name of that entity, and they're going to be scheduled for as long as you leave them on your policy. It's very simple, but you will get charged for it. It's about anywhere from $35 to $50 depending on the policy. So now I'm going to scoot over to waiver of subrogation. Now this one I actually drew out an example because it's a little bit more complicated to explain and sometimes it's hard for people to understand. But a waiver of subrogation, often in your policy, if you look at your policy, you won't find the term in most cases as waiver of subrogation. You're actually going to hear it say, it's going to read waiver of the rights of recovery, okay? Because what you're doing there is you're stopping your insurance company from recovering against the upstream party if there's a loss. So here's my example. So let's say party B is a subcontractor of party A, all right? Now let's say workers' comp, I think, is the easiest example. Let's say an employee from party B is injured and there's negligence on the part of party A that caused the injury. Now in the state of Wisconsin, the first recourse for any worker's injury is workers' compensation. So that claim would first go to party B's workers' compensation policy, all right? And it would pay the claim and that would proceed as normal. However, this insurer is going to look to recover their loss against who was negligent. And if it's party A, they're going to try and recover against party A. However, we've got a waiver of subrogation in place. So that would effectively stop the insurance company from going back to party A to recover the money they paid out for that workers' comp claim. So it's important to understand this, that that's what is happening. You're really waiving the insurance company's right to recover. That's why they call it that in the policy. So also costs money, especially on workers' comp. You can do a blanketed status, similar as the additional insured agreement, just you need to be aware of if you have that or not. So, all right, moving over to the last one, which I think is the easiest to explain, is primary and non-contributory language. So sometimes this is in the policy, sometimes it is an endorsement, but either way it means the same thing. It's basically when these three things are all wrapped together, it's going to force your policy to be primary on a claim where the two are connected. So again, going back to my party A, party B, if there's a claim, they're going to basically use all of your policy before they go to, if it's party B's policy that responds because of their primary non-contributory, it's going to use all of party B's policy before party A's policy contributes anything to the claim. So it kind of pushes everything to the downstream party. So these three things are important to understand. It's important to know whether you have these provisions already in your insurance policy or not before you sign contracts. If you sign them and then send them to your agent, it can cause problems. So make sure you check with your agent before you sign contracts. Make sure that you understand what you're signing and agreeing to. And have a good one. Let me know if you have any questions.